Aethelbald was king of Wessex from 856 to 860. Although Aethelbald's reign was short and fraught with internal challenges, it was nonetheless significant within the context of Wessex's evolving political landscape during the early 9th century. The political dynamics of Aethelbald's rule provide insight into the tensions within the royal family, the challenges of succession, and the broader context of Viking raids and inter-kingdom relations. Aethelbald was born around 830, the eldest son of Aethelwulf, king of Wessex, and his first wife, Wulfrun. Aethelwulf was a monarch who faced considerable external and internal pressures, most notably from the rising Viking threat. When Aethelwulf died in 856, Aethelbald, as the eldest surviving son, became the natural heir to the throne of Wessex. However, Aethelbald's ascension was complicated by the political climate of the time. Aethelwulf's will had divided the kingdom, leaving the crown in the hands of Aethelbald, but with a significant condition. Aethelwulf had made provisions for Aethelbald's brothers to receive a share of the kingdom. Aethelbald's younger brothers, Aethelbert, Aethelred, and Alfred, would each receive portions of the kingdom, with the latter ultimately being positioned to take control of the kingdom after Aethelbald's reign. The division of the kingdom was not the only issue Aethelbald faced upon ascending to the throne. Aethelbald's succession was also marked by personal and familial conflict. Aethelwulf, before his death, had married Judith, the daughter of Charles the Bald, king of West Francia, in a political alliance aimed at strengthening the Anglo-Saxon-Francian relationship. Aethelbald's new stepmother was significantly younger than he was, and Aethelbald's marriage to her was an issue of contention. The complex family dynamics surrounding this marriage would fuel tensions and contribute to Aethelbald's brief and contentious reign. One of the most significant issues during Aethelbald's reign was the conflict between him and his younger brothers over the succession of the kingdom. Following Aethelwulf's death, Aethelbald assumed full control of Wessex, but he faced opposition from his brothers, who were also interested in sharing power within the kingdom. Aethelbert, Aethelred, and Alfred would each play pivotal roles in the later stages of Wessex's history, but during Aethelbald's reign, the brothers' ambitions and claims to power created significant political instability. The most contentious aspect of Aethelbald's reign was his relationship with his stepmother, Judith. Aethelbald's decision to marry Judith, who was only a few years older than his youngest brother, Alfred, was widely unpopular. The marriage was seen as both scandalous and politically disruptive. Aethelbald's actions caused deep unrest within his family and the Wessex nobility, who viewed the marriage as an affront to the royal traditions. Aethelbald's union with Judith was controversial because it involved a significant age gap and was regarded as improper by many contemporaries. Despite these familial conflicts, Aethelbald's reign did see some political consolidation. His rule represented the continuation of Wessex's efforts to resist Viking attacks and maintain its dominance in southern England. However, Aethelbald's internal family struggles, particularly his fractious relationship with his brothers and his controversial marriage, damaged his ability to build a long-lasting, stable monarchy. The Viking threat loomed large over Aethelbald's reign, just as it had for his father, Aethelwulf. The 9th century was a time of increasing Viking raids on England, and Aethelbald's short reign coincided with a particularly intense period of Viking activity. Viking raids had already begun to intensify in the early 830s, with Norse invaders attacking monasteries and settlements along the eastern coast of England. By the mid-840s, Viking fleets were making repeated incursions into Wessex and other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, threatening the stability of the region. Aethelbald's reign was marked by several significant Viking attacks. In 859, a large Viking fleet was reported to have invaded the southern coast of Wessex. Aethelbald responded with military action, but his ability to defend the kingdom was compromised by the internal turmoil he faced. The fragmented nature of his reign, coupled with his inability to gain the full support of his nobles and family, made it difficult to mount a unified defense against the Vikings. The Viking threat would not subside during Aethelbald's reign, and in many ways it set the stage for the further fragmentation of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. Aethelbald's successor, his brother Aethelred, would be forced to confront the Viking invasions more directly. However, the Viking raids were not simply an external threat. They were a constant reminder of the internal weaknesses that plagued Aethelbald's rule, including a lack of unity and stability within Wessex itself. Aethelbald's reign came to an abrupt end in 860 when he died unexpectedly. His death left a power vacuum in Wessex, which was exacerbated by the unresolved dynastic issues within the royal family. Aethelbald's younger brother, Aethelred, succeeded him, and after Aethelred's death, his more famous brother Alfred took the throne. Aethelbald's reign, though short, had a lasting impact on the history of Wessex. His failure to unite his family and his inability to address the Viking threat in a meaningful way created a sense of instability that persisted beyond his death. His brother Alfred, however, would go on to become one of the most celebrated Anglo-Saxon kings in history. Alfred's reign is often seen as the turning point in the struggle against the Vikings, and it was likely the lessons learned from Aethelbald's brief reign that informed Alfred's strategy of resistance, both militarily and politically. Aethelbald's marriage to Judith also played a role in his legacy, as it highlighted the tensions within the royal family and the broader social context of dynastic succession. While his actions alienated many members of the Wessex nobility, the resulting conflict between Aethelbald and his brothers ultimately ensured that the kingdom would pass to his brother Alfred, whose reputation as a defender of the kingdom would later eclipse that of Aethelbald. Aethelbald's brief reign, though often overlooked, represents an important chapter in the history of Wessex and England. The internal divisions within the royal family during his rule revealed the complexities of dynastic succession and the fragile nature of royal authority. Aethelbald's marriage to Judith, while politically motivated, alienated much of the Anglo-Saxon nobility and led to a weakening of his position. Externally, the growing Viking threat during Aethelbald's reign highlighted the fragility of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in the face of external invasion. The inability of Aethelbald to secure Wessex from the Vikings foreshadowed the larger challenges that would confront his successors. Despite his attempts to defend his kingdom, Aethelbald's short reign did little to halt the Viking advance. It would be left to his brother Alfred to implement the military, social, and political reforms that would ultimately transform Wessex into a more resilient kingdom. Aethelbald's reign also points to the importance of strong familial unity and leadership. His failure to unite his brothers and his contentious relationship with his stepmother Judith led to a divided and unstable rule. This internal division, in part, contributed to his inability to respond effectively to external threats. His legacy, therefore, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of family division and political instability within a monarchy. Aethelbald's reign as King of Wessex, though brief, holds significant historical importance. His ascension to the throne was marked by family conflict and external threats, particularly the Viking invasions, which were a constant challenge throughout his reign. Aethelbald's personal and political struggles, including his controversial marriage to Judith, compounded the difficulties he faced as king. His failure to unify the royal family and mount a cohesive defense against the Vikings left Wessex in a precarious position, paving the way for the more successful reign of his brother, Alfred.